What's up, guys? Since the S24 series was announced, I'm going to go ahead and do my top 5 best old Samsung flagships to buy, just in case you weren't impressed or if you just want to save some money and get a really great smartphone. Alright guys, so the first phone on this list is the S21 Ultra. It's my personal favorite on the list, and you can find these for easily around $370 right now. The price should come down this year to around $350, $340, so just look out for that. But yeah, beautiful design on here, aluminum frame. You have that matte finish on here. It's IP68 dust and water resistant. It doesn't have the boxy design like the newer Galaxy phones, so it's way easier to hold in the hand. It doesn't poke into the palm. It also has S Pen support as well too. A lot of people don't know you can use the pen with this phone. It also has a pretty big 6.8-inch display, and that's one of the main things, is that it's a big phone, but it's still fairly comfortable, even for people with smaller hands as well, because it's not as wide. It's a 1440p display, 515 for the PPI, 120 Hz HDR10 plus, and then it has 1500 nits peak brightness, and it does a great job outdoors. And I had no issues with the display. Like I said, one of my favorite displays. It does have a slight curve to it, but it's not an aggressive curve, so that's why I said it's really one of my favorite displays. This phone also got the Android 14 One UI 6 update. You guys can check out my video on that. It has the Snapdragon 888 processor, and then this phone will also get Android 15 as well, and then it will get security patches after that. It also has 128 gigs of internal storage and 12 gigs of RAM on board for the base model. This phone is plenty enough fast. It pretty much will play anything you throw at it. PUBG, Call of Duty, Fortnite. It will do a good job with pretty much any game in the Play Store. So just know, if you're trying to buy this to game, it'll do an excellent job. These AAA chips, they do get a little bit warm, but I've never had this phone crash on me. I'm not a huge gamer, but I think this phone will still do really well if you are in the gaming. You also have stereo speakers on board. You also have the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, Samsung desktop support, pretty much all the same features you would have on the S23 and now the S24 pretty much. This phone also has a 108 megapixel standard, a 10 megapixel periscope telephoto with 10 times optical, and a 10 megapixel telephoto with 3 times optical, along with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It can shoot in 8K24 with a 40 megapixel selfie cam that also shoots in 4K 60. The shots on this phone are seriously impressive, guys. I took it to CES this year. I was really blown away with just how crispy the shots were. Not only just your regular photos, but also the zoom photography on here is still really good. It does the 100 times zoom as well too. Video is really solid on here. It's just a really good phone to take pictures with still. Also, you do have a 5000 milliamp hour battery on here. 25 watt charging and wireless and reverse wireless charging is on board. So basically, battery life is okay on this phone. Like I said, I had it and didn't die on me. So you can get pretty much 6 hours of screen on time pretty easily with this device. Like I said, overall one of my favorite phones to recommend. Next is the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. This is an awesome phone, and really a phone that everyone really likes, simply because this phone does have SD card support. And it's still got a pretty nice design on here, stainless steel, IP68. It's got the built-in S Pen with it as well too, and it does have that boxy design, which looks good as far as like the screen, but it does kind of cut into the hand like I was saying earlier. This phone has a massive display. It's 6.9 inches. It's a dynamic AMOLED 120 Hz HDR10 plus, and it's a 1440p panel, 496 for the PPI, but you can only use the 120 Hz at the 1080p mode. So just do note that. This phone got its last major OS update with Android 13, and it's currently only getting security patches. This phone has the Snapdragon 865 chipset on here, and performance wise, it's still really fast, guys. I'm talking about, launching applications. Check out my gaming test I did. Plays PUBG at 90 frames. It's just a beast when it comes to performance, and it doesn't really heat up as well, which is really impressive. This phone does have micro SD card support, so for everyone who downloads a lot of games and takes a lot of video, you'll really appreciate the expandable storage on here. You have 128 gigs of internal storage and 12 gigs of RAM on board. Overall, just a beast when it comes to performance. And then you also have on here stereo speakers, which sound pretty good. Under the display, fingerprint sensor, ultrasonic, of course, and the pictures on here. So the pictures on here still are really good. The only way you could say it's a little bit dated compared to the newer Galaxies is it doesn't have as good a zoom quality, I noticed, even compared to the S21, 22. But you can still get really good shots out of the Note 20 Ultra. It's got a 108 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel periscope telephoto with 5 times optical, and it does the 50 times hybrid zoom with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 8K 24 and with a 10 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. Like I said, as you can see here, you can still get some really great shots with the Note 20 Ultra. Honestly, it looks almost just as good as the newer Galaxy phones, but like I said, it does not look as good when it comes to like that zoom, like zooming in and stuff like that. Now, this phone's battery life is still pretty much on par with the S21 that we were talking about earlier. Even though the battery is a little bit smaller, it's got a 4500 milliamp hour battery, 25 watt charging, wireless and reverse wireless charging. I'm still able to squeeze almost around 6 hours of screen on time out of this phone, and I haven't replaced the battery on any of these phones as well too. Overall, just a fantastic choice for anyone who wants SD card support. All right, so the next phone is the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE. This is probably one of the best budget phones that you can buy, period, this year. It's a phone that has flown under the radar. A lot of people forgot about it, but this is an extremely good device for around the $200 price point. It's really, really impressive, guys. So this phone, it does have the aluminum frame. Now it has the plastic back, but it's still able to give you a flagship kind of feel to it. It's IP68 dust and water resistant as well. It's got the dynamic AMOLED 120 Hz HDR10 Plus at 6.4 inches. Really slim bezels on here as well too. It's 1080p 403 for the PPI. Overall, just a beautiful panel, completely flat as well too, and I love the design. It feels comfortable in the hand as well. Now, the coolest thing about this phone in particular is that this phone is going to get Android 15 and also Android 16 as well, and security patches after that. This phone is going to have a really, really long lifespan. It just got the Android 14 update, and it also has the Snapdragon 888 processor along with the 128 gigs of internal storage and 6 gigs of RAM. The phone is still very, very fast when it comes to going in and out of applications, playing video games, etc. Whatever you do on this phone, it's a very smooth experience. That's why it just blows my mind that this phone, you can find it for $200. Like I said, I would buy this over any mid-range phone, whatever. It's just a really good device for this price point. You also have stereo speakers on this phone as well too, which sound pretty decent. This phone does have the in-display fingerprint sensor. It is optical, so it's not as fast as the ultrasonic ones, but it is still, it works 100% of the time, and you can use Face Unlock as well. Now, this phone does have really good cameras as well too. It's not as impressive when it comes to the flagships, when it comes to the zoom quality and stuff like that. It really doesn't zoom like that, but it's got a 12 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel telephoto, 3 times optical, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 4K 60, 32 megapixel selfie that also shoots in 4K 60. Excellent image quality coming from this device. Really, really impressive. I'm just blown away. I mean, just look at the shots right here. For $200, you're getting a really, really good camera. The only other phone that I would say takes just as good pictures, or even better pictures, is probably like a Pixel device, like Pixel 6 you can find for super cheap. Pixel 7 you can find cheap, but yeah, this phone is going to take really good shots for $200. Very, very impressive, and also pretty good video as well. This phone's battery life is pretty good too. It's a 4500 milliamp hour battery. It's got 25 watt charging. Wireless and reverse wireless charging is on board. Overall, easily can last a day, and yeah, just an extremely impressive phone. All right, so next is the Galaxy Note 10 Plus, which honestly, it is a little bit expensive. Just looking at the price right now, it's like around $300 still, which I think I wouldn't pay more than like $250 for this phone. It's still a really, really good device. Even one of like the biggest YouTubers, Jerry Rig Everything, I believe, he actually still uses this phone from what I saw in one of his videos. It just goes to show how good the device actually is. So it's got an aluminum frame. It's got this really cool design. It's the Aura Glow color. It's IP68 dust and water resistant. It also has that boxy design to it. It's got the built-in S Pen. And one of the things to know with this phone is that there's no security updates. There's no more updates at all. And there's something to know. A lot of people, don't care about that at all. And a lot of people do care. So just know that going to it if you're going to buy this phone. It's not getting updates. It's got a beautiful display. It's dynamic AMOLED HDR10 plus. It really hasn't aged too much at all, besides not having any type of high refresh rate. It's 1440p 498 for the PPI. Really beautiful display. Honestly, still looks like a display that came out this year. You also have on here the last major OS update with Android 12 One UI 4, and it has the Snapdragon 855. And guys, if you watch the video that I did on this phone, it's still able to play pretty much anything in the Play Store. It's able to play PUBG at 60 frames, Call of Duty. It wasn't able to play Fortnite, but it still plays the majority of the games. It also has SD card support with 256 gigs of internal storage and 12 gigs of RAM. So you can really load this phone up with a ton of storage as well too. You also have stereo speakers on board. Under the display fingerprint sensor is ultrasonic. You also do have pretty good cameras. It's a 12 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel telephoto with 2x optical, 16 megapixel ultra wide, 0.3 depth, 4K 60 on the front and back with a 10 megapixel selfie. So basically the Note 10 Plus, it takes good pictures in good lighting, but if you take it out of good lighting and put it in any type of low light scenario or something like that, then that's when you'll start to see the age of the phone. It'll look a little grainy, a little soft. But other than that, if you're in good lighting, you'll be surprised. You can actually get an extremely good shot from this phone. You also have a 4300 milliamp hour battery, and what's really cool is that this phone charges actually really fast at 45 watts. It's got a wireless and reverse wireless charging as well too, and you can still get pretty good battery life. I'm able to still get like 5 hours and 30 minutes out of mine as far as screen on time. But it's still an extremely impressive device. Like I said, I think it cost a little bit too much though. Now the next phone is the Galaxy S22 Plus, which honestly was one of my favorite phones that I bought last year. Really impressive, guys. You can find this phone actually for around $350 to $380. It's a really impressive phone for this price point. It's got the aluminum frame, really beautiful design on here with the matte finish. It's IP68. It's really easy to hold in the hand. It's got the dynamic AMOLED display. It's HDR10 plus, really bright display at 1750 nits peak brightness, so really nice outdoors. 6.6 inches. It's 1080p 393 for the PPI, and overall just a beautiful display. It's a completely flat panel as well too, so if you want something that's, you know, not as big as like an S22 Ultra or something like that, and you want the display to be flat, this is a good option. It's got Android 14. It will get updates for years and years to come as well, and then the performance on here is still excellent. Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. It pretty much will blow anything out of the water in terms of performance. It's a really fast phone, whether you're playing PUBG, going into applications, editing, whatever you're trying to do. It's going to be a very fast experience. 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM. It's got really nice sounding stereo speakers as well too. The fingerprint scanner is ultrasonic, very fast. The most impressive thing about this phone is the cameras are extremely good. It's a 50 megapixel standard and a 10 megapixel telephoto. It's got 3x optical with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 8K 24, and it's got a 10 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60. Like I said, it's going to take some of the best stills I think on this list, especially for the price that you're getting. It's going to take some really good shots, guys. So the image quality, dynamic range, low light, it was just really impressive, like I said, and you're getting it for a very good price. This phone is a 4500 milliamp hour battery, 45 watt charging, wireless and reverse wireless charging. So basically the battery life is really good on this device as well too. Easily I can get like a day and a half actually out of this phone. Really good battery life. Just a really impressive phone for this price point. I also want to throw in some honorable mentions here, like the S20 Ultra. It's not one of the most popular phones, at least on the channel, but I really like this phone because it's a cheap alternative to the Note 20 Ultra. If you don't want the built-in S Pen and you don't like the boxy design, get the S20 Ultra. Like I said, it's way cheaper as well too. You can find it for like, you know, the upper 200s. Which is really nice. And also you have the S22 Ultra, which I didn't put on the list because it's kind of expensive. These phones are still kind of like in the upper $500. So if you want to spend a little bit of money, you could definitely get this device for sure. But like I said, you know, it doesn't have a lot of stuff that you guys want like the SD card support and all that stuff. But it's still an excellent device. Great cameras, really fast, beautiful design. There's a lot to like about that phone as well too. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.